Many months ago, maybe even a year ago, I watched the episode of The Simpsons that features the Critic, and I'd never actually heard of the Critic. And immediately I wanted to watch the show, and I just never got round to it. Finally, I've watched the first episode, and I think I'm going to keep watching it. The first episode wasn't perfect. I'll discuss that without any real spoiler details, though I might mention a few things that I liked, so there might actually be some tiny spoilers for this. But The Critic is an animated TV show, and it's by a lot of the same people behind The Simpsons. And it's about a film critic called Jay Sherman. And given that I review films on the internet, I thought, okay, there's going to be an element of relatability here, more so than I'd care to admit. And the main point of this is him, first of all, reviewing films quite negatively. From what I understand, he tends to review bad films. I don't know if I've fully interpreted that from the brief information I've read online, but from what I can tell, he reviews really terrible films. Fictitious films, which I'll give some examples of in a moment. But he's also trying to have a relationship with an actress. And it raises the question of whether a critic should ever be in a relationship with an actress, somebody whose work they may have to judge. And I won't say what happens with that, but I definitely, from a personal perspective, found that to be very thought-provoking. And it definitely raised some good points. It's very well animated. The style is very pleasing. I'm quite particular with animations because animation is my favourite, well, I was going to say genre. Some people call it a genre. It's technically not a genre, but my favourite style of storytelling. I'm a big fan of animation, and I really like the style of this. I think it's very pleasing to watch. Very consistent in its style. We have a great voice cast, including half the cast of the Rugrats, which I'll talk about in a moment. This first episode is directed by the brilliant Rich Moore, and Jon Lovitz is the voice of Jay Sherman. We also have various other brilliant voices, including Nancy Cartwright. And we have Christine Cavanaugh as Marty Sherman, who is Jay's son, and also the voice of Chucky Finster. I didn't realise, I didn't look at the voice cast before watching this, and I was listening, I was thinking, hang on, that sounds like Chucky from the Rugrats. And then I checked the IMDb listing, and yeah, Christine Cavanaugh voices Marty. And we also have Kath Soucie voicing various characters with the voice of Phil and Lil, which is just, it amuses me so much. A lot of their earlier works, particularly Kath Soucie's works, use the voice that went on to become the iconic voice of Phil and Lil DeVille. So it just always amuses me when I watch things that predate the Rugrats that have those voices. But that's just something I found amusing. The voice acting across the board is brilliant. Really keen to see if they bring in anybody else. We also have Maurice LaMarche, who voices Mortimer Mouse, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And we do get to see some brief animated versions of films that he is reviewing. So I guess these will be the spoiler bits from now, because I'll discuss them in a tiny bit of detail. I don't think I have anything else to say about it other than these spoilery things. So I loved it when they did Home Alone 5, which I have to say I think might exist now. There's definitely a Home Alone 4. There could be a Home Alone 5, but this was out in 1994. The one of Schwarzenegger singing the dreidel song I rather enjoyed. The Beauty and the Beast parody, absolutely fantastic, visually and in terms of the song itself. So I would have liked more of that in this episode. I feel like it focused too much on the relationship and not enough on films. But at the same time, I didn't mind that part of the narrative. But going forward, I'd like to see more films being referenced or more parodies or, anything like that. So it's definitely not bad. I did quite enjoy it. I think I will definitely watch the second episode pretty quickly. Maybe it's something I'm going to watch in a very short space of time. It definitely took me longer than I'd intended to get around to watching it, but I can definitely say that it was absolutely worth the wait.